Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I hope all of you had a great Memorial Day weekend. Uh, Today's theme is memories of summer. And before we kick things off, since we don't have any guests, I will call on the invocator to give a an invocation to start to kick things off. And since we don't have an invocator, I shall be the invocator. Normally we stand up, but since we're all remote, we're just going to stare through our screen. So of summer. This scene was inspired by Memorial Day, and I was just thinking to myself, what could possibly be something that we always think of memorable? Now, I know that Memorial Day is a way to memorize for all the people who have served our country, but since Memorial Day is also the official start of summer, I wanted to sort of invoke the feeling of summer, of memorable summers that we spent either in our childhood or special summers where we have vacation and gone to somewhere special. If there's one thing that I hope that when we leave this meeting today, we will sort of think forward to the next few months, and hopefully, as we re-emerge from the pandemic, we will come back and think of this summer as a memorable summer, as one when we recovered from the pandemic and went on, and life returned to to something close in resemblance normal. Thank you. Now, at this point,
Before we begin, is anybody else hearing a lot of background noise?
Most of you're hearing the mower outside. I'm in this building where someone is actually. I'm gonna go on mute.
Okay. Sorry, just wanted to double check.
Okay. Well, thank you, Georgie. Well, let's just try and get our duty masters all filled in. We do need a volunteer for an out counter. Any volunteers? Elvira, would you tell us what? Yep. Go ahead. Can you tell us what does the out counter do?
The ad counter is looking out for using as, likes, and other filler words so that we can reduce it in our speech, and gives the report at the end of the speech or at the given time specifically allocated for that. Back to you, Arun.
Thank you. Thank you, Elvira. Word master, I'm volunteering to be word master. So our word of the day is vacation. Vacation means an extended period of leisure and recreation, especially one sent away from home or in traveling, or the action of leaving something once previously occupied. So the idea of word of the day is to use this word whenever we get an opportunity to speak, and and if you don't get out, I'll report back at the end of the meeting to show how the word of the day was used by each of us who spoke. I'll actually post the word of the day in our chat window. Next, we have a grammarian, and we do need a volunteer for grammarian. Do we have any volunteers?
Yeah, I can take it, Harun.
Thank you, Louis. Go ahead. Tell us what does a grammarian do?
Yes, as grammarian, it's my responsibility to pay close attention to all speakers, listening carefully to their language uses, take any notes of improper language, as well as any outstanding words, quotes, sayings, or thoughts. And I'll give my report at the end of the meeting. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Louis. As our next role is ballot counter. Ballot counter is, we usually use Google to send out a link where all of you can vote for best table topics, best evaluator, and best speaker. So I'll be sending out that link momentarily. And our next role is Video Master. Now, Video Master, there's not much to doing being the Video Master. The Video Master is basically Zoom, who records all of our meetings. And so what normally I record the meetings and I will upload them to a private YouTube channel. If you do not wish to be recorded, please let me know so that I can pause the recording. And once you've stopped speaking, I will resume the recording. And at that point, we've kind of filled up all our roles, and now we can start the speaking section. Our first speaker of the day is Georgie. Georgie, are you ready to speak? Georgie?
Might have lost her.
Yeah, Georgie seems to have.
Nope, there she is.
Yeah. Georgie, are you ready?
Well, let me just go through a couple things because I'm an evaluator today as well.
Oh, right. So yeah, before we start off, yeah, our roster of speakers are Georgie, Zaina, and Wai-Ming. And as general evaluator, I'm general evaluator, and Elvira, you'll be evaluating Georgie. Georgie, you'll be evaluating Zaina.
Okay.
And Louis, you'll be evaluating Wai-Ming.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. And am I the first speaker?
You are the first speaker.
Okay, great. Then just 1 second. Okay. Okay. All right. One small thing more. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Today, I'd like to talk about an area that I find very interesting with respect to the future of technology, and that is the area of augmented reality and virtual reality. It's also abbreviated AR and VR. It's also abbreviated XR, just to kind of combine all of that concept. So let me start out by just making sure we all understand the concept of augmented reality that I'm referring to. When most people, at least when I think about augmented reality, I think about that beautiful concept of having all of these images and everything brought together perfectly before my eyes by a computer, kind of similar to in Iron Man, when Tony Stark is able to just, with a small flick of a wrist, just visually bring everything together and just be so productive that he can make amazing advances in technology in just a couple of minutes with screen time. Stuff that you just dream of. Also, I think about things like heads-up displays. Now, there are real-world examples of heads-up displays, especially with respect to things like fighter pilots. And we have heard talk about heads-up displays in cars, but we haven't really seen that happen yet. Hopefully, it'll be coming very, very soon. Now, another concept that you may remember having seen, once again highlighted in television shows, from the show Sherlock. In this case, it was involving the concept of what would life be like if you had a pair of augmented reality glasses that would allow you to focus on a person's face, do some facial recognition, check a computer, and then remember who this person is and some basic information about their life. Wouldn't it be great if you would not have to forget people's names and try to search your memory for it at the most inconvenient of times? Likewise, I've been reading a lot of books lately. Snow Crash, for example, was a concept of what the future could be like, and that came out in like 1992. I've also read and watched the movie Ready Player One, and there's a new book out, just came out relatively recent, called Ready Player Two. Look at the concept of what life would be like with a virtual reality type world. Same concept. So a lot of people have looked into this, and that's sort of the fictional version of what we want, something we've been thinking about for it's going on several decades now. But what is life really like? Well, there's been a lot of movement in this area. For example, about a month ago, I attended Facebook's Oculus event that was done online, talking about the newest things that they're doing with their Oculus headset. Likewise, last week we had Google I/O, and they were talking about the advances that they've made in their augmented reality tools called AR Core. This coming week, next week, we're going to be having Apple's WWDC. They're going to be talking about AR Kit, their version of it. And Snap just had released a marketing analysis and a brand new augmented reality spectacles product onto the market. So I'm going to give kind of a review on actual reality of what's going on with augmented reality and virtual reality. To begin with, what I thought was interesting from the Oculus event wasn't really the games, because they seemed to be very similar to games we've had out before. So they were more like improvements to the game. Same thing with the Star Wars Virtual Arcade. But what I thought was really interesting about it was that you would go into this virtual room inside of your Oculus headset, and you could play basically pinball games, which I know is kind of ironic when you think about it. But the other thing you could do that I thought was really interesting is that you could go into this, essentially this Star Wars aficionado cave, and look at all the little memorabilia on the wall as if it was your actual room. The thing that I thought was really cool was that you could go in and change the memorabilia. So you could really personalize this room to exactly what you wanted. Essentially, it could become your vacation in a little mini Star Wars world for yourself. I thought that was really cool. Now, another thing as well is I mentioned Google has their augmented reality core technology they're working on. Just to give you some idea of how things have advanced, you'll notice that we have two mannequins that we're looking here. Only one of them, it really exists. I'll give you a little hint. The one that is not casting the shadow is the one that's there virtually. Now, what they did that they've really been focused on is that you'll see this picture here. What they're really focusing on is trying to make the augmented reality images just seamlessly fit into the real world. And one of the really hard parts of that is getting the lighting condition correct. You'll notice the image on the left-hand side shows the virtual mannequin and that display art that's hanging from the ceiling in very harsh lighting tones. The second one on the right-hand side shows what happens when they go in and filter properly to make it blend in seamlessly with the rest of the rest of the scene and with the other mannequins. So it looks like it's actually part of it. It's getting harder and harder to decipher exactly what's going on. Likewise, we have the Snap document that they put out. You'll see that in this document, they were examining where we are in augmented reality right now. They break it into basically 4 different things. You just get the basic tech out there, then it turns into a toy, then it turns into a tool, and then it becomes something that's just part of your life, and you don't even think twice. You just assume it's there. In their point of view, they think that we're in the transition area between toy and tool, where things are becoming a lot more solid so they can be used in a more productive manner. For example, they just released this, what they call Spectacles 3 product, and it's really got some amazing high tech associated with it. What it does is that it allows an image to float in front of your eyes on the spectacles. And what it does is you can then using a controller on the side of the glass, you can then interact with this image because it's basically a computer. And it is bright enough, is at 200 nits, which is 2,000 candles per square foot, if you square meter, if you know that type of thing. It's bright enough you can see both indoors and outdoors. But what it's the heart of it is this incredibly advanced waveguide technology. Snap is so interested in this that they purchased the company that made it, the waveguide technology, for $500 million. If you want to get your hands on it, you can't buy it. It's only for creators. You got to go to Snap, put your information in, and say what amazing ideas you have in order to use this technology. So with that, let me know if you ever do get some Snap glasses, because I'd really like to try them out, and try them out as a nice vacation. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you, Georgie. If you can take a few minutes and give some feedback to Georgie. A minute or two. Okay. Our next speaker is Zaina. Zaina is a new member and has given a number of speeches already on some very thought-provoking topics. Today, so ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Zaina, who will be evaluated by Georgie.
Thank you so much, Varun. I'll turn the light, hold on. Success breeds success. This is something I've seen happen for people all over my life. One thing seems to lead to the next and to the next, and I call this phenomenon the chain of opportunity. The idea being that the first link connects to the second, and so on. I think it's really interesting to look at the people who make it a long ways along their chain of opportunity and people who don't. Now, the most obvious difference between someone who really moves and somebody who doesn't is where they start on the chain. This is provided by a variety of interests, nature, nurture, resources, and all of these things combined indicate how adept or apt you are to move along your chosen chain right when you start thinking about going on it. But this beginning of the story certainly isn't the end of it. I know people in my life who have chosen the chain and moved just the littlest bit. They seem to progress only a small amount over their whole career. And other people who start with almost no resources and make it all the way to the top. And the difference between these two people is what I'm interested in examining today. I've started observing people to see what it is that they're doing in order to move from link to link. And patterns have started to emerge as I've done this. The first thing that people seem to do as they're moving from link to link is they have clearly defined the chain that they're interested in moving along. This is something I really struggled with my last year of college. I remember sitting in my room and I was finishing up mechanical engineering. I'd done some internships. It is not what I wanted to do. I remember sitting in my room and Googling jobs that aren't mechanical engineering. So you can imagine that didn't work out very well for me. And it's because I had not chosen any particular chain. I was just wandering a little bit. Once I started narrowing things down, it got better. But that's not enough. People who move from link to link have another trait that I think is most clearly articulated by Shelley Archambault. Shelley is an author of the book Unapologetically Ambitious, and she chose a particular goal in high school, namely to be a Fortune 500 CEO. She knew that's what she wanted to do, and she worked for decades in order to reach her goal. And through the book, you follow her along this journey, and she has a lot of really interesting advice to provide. But the piece that really stuck with me is that once you pick a goal, you should tell everyone that you have it. And when she says everyone, she means everyone. Your mom, your neighbor, your boyfriend, your boss, your coworkers, your church friends, the people that you meet at dinner, the people at salsa club, everybody. This does a couple of different things for you. First, it holds you accountable to doing what you said you were going to do. Imagine if I tell everyone, including my boyfriend's sister's dog, that I'm going to run a marathon by Christmas. You can bet that everybody at Christmas is going to ask me about that marathon. That's pretty good motivation for me to actually do it. The second thing that it does is it holds other people in your story accountable to following through. Imagine you've spent the last 6 months talking to your boss about how you want a promotion, how you're qualified for that promotion, what you need to do for that promotion. And all of your coworkers know this is happening. By the time promotion cycles come around, your boss is under a lot of social pressure to follow through. The third thing it does is it lets your network work for you. Have you ever played the game, The 7 Degrees of Kevin Bacon? The idea of the game is that any actor in any movie is only 6 social connections away from the famous actor Kevin Bacon in movies like Footloose. Actor A was in a movie with actor B, who was in a movie with actor C, who was in a movie with Kevin Bacon, for example. Now, this idea has been extrapolated out to say that any 2 humans engaged in society on the face of the earth are 7 or fewer social connections away from each other. I want you to think about that for a second. You are 7 or fewer social connections away from Elon Musk and LeBron James. Now, what this means is that if you can reach any degree beyond your original circle of friends and family members, you have access to a significantly larger surface area of opportunities. Imagine this. You are looking for the best homemade ice cream recipe. And you think about everyone you know who might know something about homemade ice cream. You call them and you maybe get some coffee and you learn what they know. Now imagine that you tell everyone you know that you're interested in homemade ice cream recipes. Now you get all of the advice you would have in the first round in the second round, but you also have all of these other people in your circle who now have you associated with homemade ice cream. So when it comes up in any of their conversations, that information filters right back to you. And this is where the magic happens. When you've exponentially increased your surface areas for opportunities to come back to you, all of a sudden you'll find that they do. The third thing that people really do is that when opportunities come to them, they are ready to seize them, in whatever form those opportunities decide to come in. A job posting, a passing comment from a friend, an opportunity to get coffee with somebody knows, a YouTube link, a conference, whatever it is, you gotta be ready to take it. There's a reason why it's called chasing your dreams. Now, you remember that job that I wanted that wasn't mechanical engineering? Well, I got coffee with a friend of somebody I met at a volunteering opportunity. And through that, found a job that I absolutely love. I'm really engaged, I'm excited to be here, and I believe that we can all find these pathways to our chains of opportunities through this method of clearly identifying what opportunities we're looking for, telling everybody that we're looking for them, and then being ready to take the opportunities that come when they get to us. And through this method, we too will find that success breeds success. Thank you.
Thank you, Zaina. If we can take a minute or two to give Zaina some feedback. Wei-Ming, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Toastmasters, let's welcome Wei-Ming Mak. Wei-Ming Mak is a longtime member of our club, has given many speeches, and today we'll be presenting another one of his speech in his quest to speak every week.
Thank you very much. I'm going to start. Zaina talked about a path to success, and I'm going to be talking about a similar topic on success, although it's a slight vacation from the path in that it's a more general analysis. Now, bear with the noise in the background. Hopefully it'll go away because I see the guy is moving away from this area, but hopefully it won't interfere too much. In any case, so today I'm going to talk about the idea that success accumulates over time. It requires time to accumulate, and I'll show some examples of that, and also talk about two other ideas that goes along with this idea of requiring duration to build up success, and then the idea that you need to get the right opportunity for that success to bloom, and the idea that you need passion to accumulate your success over time. So one way to measure success, and it's not the only way, there's so many ways to measure success. I don't mean to talk about that, but we're going to use one measurable thing is money. Money is a good proxy for success in the sense that you can measure it. You cannot, it's hard to put a number to happiness. It's hard to put a number to having a good health and all that stuff, although potentially good. But we're going to talk about money. And how do you learn about money? So you learn from the masters. And who are the masters of money? They are the billionaires. So that's the idea. And I'm looking at the top 114 billionaires from the Forbes list from a few weeks ago. Some of those guys have moved around and things change, but the idea is still very relevant. So when I look at those guys, I look at how they came to their money, how old they are, and how they associated, and what brings about. So there's some interesting observations. When I look at those 114 guys, gals out there around a few weeks ago, I found that, and I counted them, that 63% of them are founders. They actually founded a company, associated with a company that helped them make their money to be the top billionaires in the world. The other, and then that includes the 3.5% of people who actually didn't quite start a company, but they had some money. They bought a small company, they grew it and maintained it for years, and they became billionaires. One of those is Warren Buffett. So I counted that as part of the 63%. The other 30% are people who inherited their money from the founders, either from their fathers or from their grandfathers, or recently there's several ladies who really gotten really rich because they either inherited the money from their passed away husband, like this lady who was the wife for Adelson, and also Mackenzie Scott, who got the money from Jeff Bezos. So those is also a way to get money, is to somehow get it from the founders. And then only 7% of people are employees. They started early. They're early employees of the company, and they became CEO, or eventually became owners. So that's the idea. And so usually a billionaire then is associated with primarily one company. There could be many companies, but in most cases, one company. So, Jeff Bezos with Amazon, Bill Gates with Microsoft, and so on. And then I look at those companies then, how old those companies are, essentially. And they range from 6 years old to 135 years old. These are companies. And this is a histogram. So this is how many companies are in each one of those age durations in terms of age for the company. And then so you can sort of divide it up in terms of the 6 year to 50, 60-year-old company. It belongs to a founder, approximately. And then the older companies, older than 60 years old, most likely was because it was founded by some father of the founders, like the Waltons who inherited the money from their father, who started Walmart and so on. And then there are some really old companies where the grandfather started company. So that's the idea. There is these three sections. So things take time. That's the point. And most of these companies are over 10 years old, except for two. And these two happen to be Chinese companies because somehow they had the opportunity to explain why. One of them is 6 years old. This Pinduoduo, this company is involved in actually providing e-commerce for farmers. And then the other one that's 9 years old is ByteDance, the company that started TikTok and other capabilities. Right? So the point is 10 years or more is needed. And this goes along with the idea that to build any skill for any person, you need 10 years of skill development to actually become world-class. So I associate with that. Now, the other point I want to make is that these companies require certain opportunities. And usually it's something change in the environment, whether it's technology change, politics, people, other things. So very quickly, when you look at those 114 companies, the US and China, equally in terms of percentage of companies that are in this category, a lot of those are due to technology change. Although China, there's significant economic change since 1980s, and there are 1.3 billion people they can serve, so they can actually generate a lot of income through that. The interesting thing is Soviet Union, a lot of those people, when I look at those, they came about because of the breakup of the Soviet Union. They were either minister or some really chief engineer of some company, and then that's part of the Soviet Union. When the Soviet Union broke up, they took that over and then built that up. Other companies like in Japan and Europe, they started after World War I and World War II. So times of change, opportunity, technology, that's how you can get the best technology. The other thing, of course, to maintain it for 10 years or more, you need passion. And so Elon Musk, in 1995, when he was in college, he asked himself a question: what do I want to dedicate my life to work to? And he decided at that time to develop a vision for his life to enable the future of humanity. That's how he started SpaceX and all these other things. He needed to build money, he needed the money, capital, to actually start SpaceX, to start another company that got sold to Dell and so on. Steve Jobs has a similar idea of making a dent in the universe. So you need passion to drive. So the point of all this is to be really rich, you have to be a founder or get in early, like Eric Schmidt did with Google, or Steve Ballmer did with Microsoft, and become CEO of the company. So conclusion, 3 points: takes time to build wealth and success, and you need to look for opportunities to start that, and you need passion to sustain it. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Wai Ming. Let's take a minute or two to give Wai Ming some feedback. Okay, so thank you, speakers. And now we'll come to the next stage of our meeting, which is the evaluation section. As general evaluator, I will be calling on each of the evaluators to give a quick evaluation to the speaker so that you can give your feedback and tell us how they did. So our first evaluator is going to be Elvira. who evaluated Georgie's speech on AR and augmented and virtual reality. Go ahead, Eduardo.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. I had an opportunity to be Georgie's evaluator for today and the speech about the augmented reality, which is actually quite still challenging for me because I consider myself as a beginner with evaluating process. Anyway, so that's what I found, what I heard in the George's speech was very interesting to me, I guess for many others as well, because augmented reality is quite new thing for many of us, I guess. It's developing technology, and how that in Georgie well described in her speech what it would be like, our life would be like with augmented technology. And examples she provided in her speech was the companies who are working on this, on developing this technology, Facebook, Google, and Apple. It was a great number. She provided a great number of examples what company are working on this technology and what kind of product they are going to present or presented already to the public. And the glass snap glasses, I guess, great example that I assume that the product, kind of product will be in future for everyone on the market, not like for $500,000 like for now. So everybody will be able to use this product. So the speech was great. I mean, for the person who is like me, laywoman, it's great. George's speech was great, gave great understanding what augmented reality is. I guess that was the aim, the goal for the speech. The only thing I would probably add to or suggest what could be improved, maybe to structure it at the beginning, give us structure the speech so that we would know what exactly the speech will be about. Like, I don't know, both like providing number one, number two, number three, and conclusion. Probably that's the only thing I would suggest to add to the speech. Other than that, the speech was great. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you, Vera. Our next evaluator is Georgie, who will be evaluating Zaina.
Okay. All right. Well, first of all, thank you very much, Zaina, for giving us a really great speech. It seems like you put a lot of work and effort into the speech because it was so well structured and well done. I thought that it seemed like you put in a lot of effort into it because you seem to really hit the points that Toastmasters suggest that we include with our speech. You start off with a very quick, easy soundbite for us to remember and to get us into the speech, which was success breeds success. And you echoed that through the speech. You then talked about a concept of how to do success, and you used the concept of chain of opportunity. You echoed back to that with the idea of building links, and also the idea of kind of having that one thing build onto the next thing. You mentioned how you you also clearly delineated what different aspects of you that you thought were important. For example, when you reference the Unapologetically Ambitious book, you mentioned accountability, let other people be accountable for you, and tell your network so that everybody will work for you on that idea. You mentioned that both in the start of your speech, and you also summarized that at the very end when you were talking about it. And once again, at the very end, you echoed again, success breeds success. I thought you did a really good job. Your language was really well chosen with the words you use, like adept or adapt. Seize opportunities, be ready to seize opportunity, chase your dreams. You did a lot of good. You did a callback in which you talked about in the very beginning that you were not exactly enthralled with mechanical engineering and you were planning to work on it. And then you called back to at the end how you had a meeting with coffee with someone to talk about other things you could do. But you mentioned, if you remember back in the beginning of my speech, I said, so that way it kind of carries forward with it and we can remember it. The I thought those things went absolutely flawlessly. And I think the structure of the speech, the tone, the pacing, the words were great. The one thing, tiny little thing that I would suggest you might want to look at is that two things. First, your hand gestures are getting cut off. And that's a real problem with respect to, for example, like I said, it was really nice when we were talking about how you frustrated you are when you're trying to Google something for a new concept from Canada and your hands get hidden. So you see your visual expression, you see your bottom of your body move, but nothing, you can't understand what's going on necessarily. The other thing is that you kept kind of mixing up, I believe, 6 degrees of separation of Kevin Bacon with 7. You kept switching between 6 and 7. So I don't know if you did that intentionally or what, but other than that, I think everything was really well done. I'm looking forward to your next speech.
Thank you, Georgie.
Thank you.
Our next evaluator is Louis, who will be evaluating Weiming.
Yep. Let me get my timer presentation thing on. Where is it? Here we go. All right, so Weiming, great job today. As always, very charismatic. And what I really liked about your intro that got me is that you're very good at improvising. You're able to tie in kind of Zaina's speech beforehand into yours about opportunity, as well as kind of talking about tying other speeches, and there was noise in the background. And so for me as a speech giver, it's like I'm very rehearsed and I have to really think about it. But for you, I feel like you can take it very naturally and kind of go run with the punches and be able to tailor your speech as is. And so that's something I really admire and hope to get better at. On your speech itself, it was very well structured. The intro, you talked about kind of tips on how to become successful. And then you kind of outlined the 4 things that kind of these big CEOs have in common to become successful. And so you mentioned, unfortunately, you have to be a founder or you have to find something to become successful. Age takes time, so 10 plus years, opportunity and passion. So you kind of linked all of those 4 things together through your speech. And then for each of those points, you gave backed up research on each of those items, on how, or on each of these aspects of these founders and how they became successful. So I really appreciated the graph charts, the pie charts that you had showing the age of these companies, how long it took for them to become successful, what these founders, the percentages that are founders versus the ones that were inherited, versus the ones that kind of just were one of the first employees. And then you can't become successful, at least in the startup business, without having the opportunity. And I think this kind of ties back with what Haroon is saying. It's like you have to have the right business environment and the right socio-economical, political, economical environment. All those things have to come together for a company to really become successful. Yeah, I think what you could have done at the end for the call to action, because I like the humor, so that was good at the end. I was just like, okay, either have to be a founder or wake up early to become successful, but maybe just provide a little bit more guidance on what you have to do to wake up early. Like, what does Louis have to do to wake up early to become more successful? Like, I could just wake up at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m., but I don't think that will accomplish anything in and of itself. And the only other tip I would say for your speech is that maybe you had something where you relate it to your own life, how you became successful or you felt you became successful through these tips. And then it would make it more relatable to us as the audience Because right now, I loved your speech, the charisma and everything, and I understood it. It's just, for me, it's just so hard for me to grasp how I could become like one of those CEOs. But overall, great speech. Well done again. You're a seasoned vet. Just keep doing it. Looking forward to your next speech. Back to you, Haroon.
Thank you. Thank you, Louis. At this point, I'm going to return control to our Toastmaster, which is myself. And we are now at our table topics section. And table topics is an area where we get an opportunity to speak on in an extempore fashion. And the idea is that the table topics master will give a series of questions, and you can speak about whoever is speaking for about 2 minutes or so on any random topic that the question in the table topics master will come up, and you can answer in any random fashion as well. So our table topics master today is Wai Ming. Thank you, Wai Ming.
Hi, everybody. So I'm going to again go through a series of pictures, hopefully that will remind you of some summer experience or vacation or something. And then you can pick a picture and then talk about it. So I'm going to go through those fairly quickly. Okay. So who would like to start?
I can start.
Okay.
So
which picture would you like?
Actually, I'm confused about which 2 pictures I want to pick.
Well,
And
just
the
pick one.
reason one is that there are 2 pictures that I'm very familiar with. Was that about a few years ago? Was that in 2018, my wife and I actually managed to go to 2 different places at different points of the year and over summer. One summer, that summer in 2018, we went to Paris. Now, that was an interesting trip that normally people tend to think of Paris as one of the most romantic places, great tourist attractions, and to walk around. Unfortunately for us, my wife and I, after our trip to Paris, and we did go through all the sites. We went to see the Eiffel Tower, the Louvre. We walked around the different museums, caught in a few shows, went to the Champs-Élysées, or however you want to pronounce it. But we came away deciding that we didn't like Paris as much as we thought we would. And the reason being was that even though we allocated like a huge chunk of our vacation time to Paris, we actually tacked it at the very end of another trip, a trip that we had taken to Italy. So in Italy, we had gone to Rome and Venice, and we thoroughly enjoyed that. And we decided that, the best way to enjoy Paris is to make it a trip into and itself and not tack it on to another trip. And that way you can enjoy and take in the city much better if you always keep it in isolation. So I guess when you start in relative terms, Paris may not be that great to other locations, but in itself, it probably is that this is probably a great place to visit. So there you go, Mr. Tabletop Master.
Thank you very much. So how about another person? If not, I'll just go down the list. Louis?
Yeah,
Go on.
yeah,
unmute.
sure. Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, can you scroll through the photos again? Beach. Yeah, let's go back to that one with the bridge and the trees. Yeah, yeah. This one I can talk about. This might be Tahoe, might not be, but I was just recently at Tahoe for a vacation for some much needed rest for Memorial Day weekend. And so I think I'll just talk about my time in Tahoe this past weekend. And it was absolutely like gorgeous and amazing. It felt nice to be away from my house. And it's finally feeling like we're kind of gearing out of the pandemic. The only thing I would say about going to Tahoe is that nobody cares about mask mandates. So, for example, I went to a hotel for drinks with my girlfriend's family, and we were at we weren't staying at the Ritz, but we went to the Ritz because it's, all the glitz and whatnot. And so we went for drinks, and when we were pulling up to the hotel, they're like, "Hey, are you vaccinated?" I was like, "Yeah, we're vaccinated." "Okay, if you're vaccinated, then no need for mask anywhere. Like you can walk through the hotel bathrooms anywhere, no mask." And then I was like, "Oh, okay. Like since when?" It's like, "Oh, it's only been like a day, but nobody's been wearing masks for the past month anyway, so don't worry about it." And I was just like, "Oh my goodness." I kept my mask on, but I could not believe those rules. But anyways, besides the whole mask thing and people not caring, it was nice to go on hikes up the mountains without the mask on. It was nice being on the lake. We went kayaking, crystal clear blue waters, like nice air. And so for all of you, I hope you can have some good R&R and vacation soon. I know you all need it. We all need it. Get some social interaction and just some fresh air and break from your house, because I'm getting tired of seeing my parents every day and then telling me to clean up my room. So I should honestly just move out, but the savings on rent is it's been nice. And I help out just for you guys. I help out my parents too. I give them some money for rent, but obviously subsidized. So thank you. Back to you, Wyoming.
Thank you. How about Elvira?
Okay, vacations. It's very interesting. I've been to, I would start with the same picture, which is now on the screen, the mountains and hiking, is that type of vacation was pretty new to me in New Zealand. That's where first time I was introduced into hiking, and I loved it so much that in fact vacation now in the city environment like Paris, for instance, it doesn't appeal anymore that much as it used to be, because I've been to Paris and I can relate to Haroon's experience. In fact, it wasn't that great as my expectation was about Paris. Exactly the same. It kind of mismatch, like lots of promise, expectation about the city, but anyway, the experience was great anyway, but it was a bit different than what I expected. But after hiking experience, I realized that I want more of this in future. And this vacation I'm gonna spend is for hiking. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. How about Georgie?
Okay, let's see. Let's just go to the Paris pictures because I like looking at Paris. Okay, but I will talk just about things in general, I guess. Okay, so this is, unfortunately, I'm going to have to agree in some ways with Louis, which is I also feel the need to get out of my house, although my parents aren't here. It's just, in general, just get out of the house. So for me, I've been spending way too much time looking at walkthrough videos on YouTube. Basically, somebody just walks around a different place and you just see what it's like that day, for example. And I found one yesterday with somebody who's just walking around Paris in the last day or so. And just to let you know, the weather isn't the greatest there. It's still a little chilly and it's still raining, but it's still Paris. So I think that I have to agree with both Elvira and Haroon. Paris is a beautiful city, but people do forget it is a city. It has got all the same problems you would expect from a city. So I think for me, Paris mostly, while it has a lot of beautiful museums, other things to see, for me, just walking around is really what I think is one of the best things you can do in Paris, just to see the way the city was designed to be visually beautiful. It's my idea of the best thing about Paris for me personally. Now, tying into what Louis was saying, which is getting out of the freaking house. Now, while you can, hopefully, if you are able to work remotely, in theory, you might be able to use this next few months while things are still quasi lockdown to actually spend some time traveling around. And I, once again, spent way too much time on Airbnb recently, looking at the cost of staying a month or two here and a month or two there. And it's actually not that expensive. I found some really, for example, inexpensive places in Seattle. Like for less than $1,000 a month, you could stay in some pretty nice looking places in Seattle. So in other words, Louis, maybe you do want to move out, but maybe just, move out to New York, move out to Seattle, move out to Miami, think about it. I know, goodness knows I am, because I could use a vacation.
Thank you. Zaina.
You give me a random slide, Wei Ming.
Okay, I'll just count to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Excellent. So I went to college in Boulder, Colorado. And as you can imagine, this is a very outdoorsy city. There is a reason they called it Boulder. So I had a lot of different friends that were excited and engaged in the ideas of hiking and being outside and climbing up mountains and faces of rocks. And I have to admit, that is really not one of my passions. As much as I support people being outside has never been a thing that I have loved, and I felt really out of place in Boulder, I have to admit. And I think there are a variety of reasons for this. One, temperature is really hard for me. I get really cold really easily. And so in general, climbing in the morning at 5 o'clock is very cold. Another reason is that I sunburn very easily. It takes approximately 15 minutes for me to turn from white to lobster. And then once I'm a lobster, I come straight back to white. There is no tanning process over here. And so many of these allures end up being a rather painful experience for me. And so I had a bit of an adventure trying to find, the right kinds of gloves and the right kinds of attire and times of day and whatnot in order to make those experiences accessible to me in a way that was enjoyable so that I can engage with my friends inside of these kinds of environments. So although I did put some effort forth, you'll notice that I did move immediately to Los Angeles, where rock climbing was not the thing to do. And instead, I'm excited to be engaging in things like all of the fun shops here, all of the interesting culture. I can't wait for the art life to open back up. Really big theater people in my house, and so that's really exciting. And salsa dance, which I've spoken about before, is really where it's at for me. And so I cannot wait for that to come up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So Haroon, this is it. I'm going to return control back to the general evaluator.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Wei Ming. And we're now at our 10-minute mark. I've already sent out the ballot link, so please vote for your favorite speaker, evaluator, and your table topics master. And I will now call on the duty masters to report back on. So our first duty master is the timer, and Louis is our timer today. Louis, how did we do on time?
All right, times did great today. So for speeches, Georgie 7:44, Zaina 7:11, Wei Ming 8 minutes. For evaluation, Alvera 2:52, Georgie 3:13, and myself 3:40. And for table topics, Haroon 2:39, Georgie 2:20. I missed Alvera myself, too caught up in the nice table topics, and then Zaina 1:47. So good job, everybody.
Thank you, Louis. And as grammarian, can you tell us about what we did on how we used our grammar today?
Yeah, absolutely. So grammar, great job, everyone. I didn't catch any really mishaps. Everything flowed very well. And the two people who I really liked the vocabulary today were Georgie and Zaina. So Georgie, I really liked you using the word memorabilia. It just popped out to me. And then the way you describe augmented reality, blending seamlessly, and then talking about kind of the algorithms, saying decipher. I think that all tied into your presentation very well. And Zaina, I think Georgie already touched on this, the analogies on chain of opportunity, seize opportunity, and success breaks success, or brings success was really great. So that's my report for today for the grammar. Thank you.
Thank you, Louis. Our word master, surprised. I was surprised at that everybody got to use the word of the day, vacation. I think that has to do something with our table topics, because going on vacation seems to be the easiest. I thought that it would be hard to incorporate vacations in our speeches, but there you go. Sometimes university just bites back. And so our next duty master is the odd counter, and odd counter is Elvira.
Okay, we have done a lot of hours and hours today. Harun said had 19,000 hours, but I guess in this role of a Toastmaster today, it's hard to avoid them. The least amount of arms and hours field of words were having two people, Georgie and Zaina. They had none at all. Winnie had 16 and Louis 16. I guess myself, I haven't counted my hours and my arms, but I'm afraid I had also quite a high number of them as well. So that's my report. Back to you.
Thank you. So, wait a minute, there it is. Thank you, Elvira. So just to wrap things up for the meeting, I think the meeting went very well. We had a small quorum today, so so thank you everybody for stepping up and volunteering and taking on multiple roles. I think the evaluations were really done, were very well done. All of the evaluators summarized the entire the speeches, which really shows how carefully you were listening to it, and then picked up on all the points to make helpful suggestions. I thought that was that shows that we're not only interested in improving, in highlighting what are the things that we should build on, but also illustrating where our deficiencies are and bringing them in terms of structure. I thought the speakers showed how seasoned they are, and a lot of the feedback that I thought was really about structure and presentation and styling. And I thought that kind of feedback is always useful to us. At this point, I think that's about it. I think the meeting went pretty well. And I would now return control to our president. But before I do that, do we have a joke? No. I was looking for some jokes, but but here's a joke that I just recently read. Why did the robot go on vacation? Because he wanted to recharge his batteries. Get it? Okay, so if you haven't voted, please vote, and I will report back to it. In the meantime, do we have any announcements?
We can sign up for next week.
Yeah.
Zaina already signed up to be table topics.
Right. So for next week, I do need a volunteer to somebody be the whole video master thing.
How does being video master work?
Well, basically, you need to start up the meeting. I'm not going to be here next week,
Oh,
so yeah, I'm going on vacation.
nice, nice. Well deserved, well deserved.
Thank you.
I hope it's not Paris.
No, it's not Paris. It's just San Diego.
Okay.
Just San Diego.
Yeah,
You're underselling San Diego there, Haroon.
Sorry?
You're underselling San Diego there.
Oh, well, yeah, that's true. Okay.
Well, he doesn't need a passport.
Yeah, yeah. True, true.
So what's involved in the video master
So
thing?
you basically need to log in. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to ask every one of you to vote again. I think
Okay.
I made a mistake because the responses from last week got mixed in.
Oh,
So if you can vote again, I'd appreciate it. My bad.
no worries. Happens.
Well, the other thing with the video master is that I think you have to be early. So you have to be
You just
like
have to be- yeah.
7, yeah,
10,
7,
yeah.
10 or something.
Why don't we just tie it in with whoever is Toastmaster?
Right. So any volunteers for Toastmaster?
Well, maybe we should start with speeches because they're usually, and also usually more works. Anybody want to give a speech next week?
Okay.
Elvira?
Elvira.
Cool. Excellent.
I always have a speech, but I'm gonna wait.
Yeah.
Like Georgie always have a speak. Louis is going to speak.
Is that what
Yeah,
Louis was going to say?
Yeah, I was gonna say you guys always do it, so me and Alvaro will do our best to give another speech.
Cool. All right. Anybody else want to give a speech?
I think Jose might, but
Yeah, Jose
because
might
he-
actually.
yeah.
That's
So
a
I'll
good
put
point.
his
Why don't we
name
put
in.
him in and then we'll see if he can make it. And then one of us can be backups if we need to.
Hey, I
And
think,
then,
well, before we go on, let's announce the winners.
sure.
Yeah. So, drum roll, please. Our best table topics was me. Thank you, everybody. Our best evaluator was Georgie. And our best speaker, by a long shot, was Zaina. Thank you, everybody. I think this was a great speech, and I thank everyone for attending and your participation. Appreciate it. So
we need a Toastmaster.